When I was younger, I used to play Magic with the owner of my LGS, and whenever I lost, I would have to give him $1, and then whenever he lost, he would have to give me $2. Whenever business was slow or he needed money, he would tell me to come play Magic with him. The key is to find a clear path to winning, and then right before you win, you want to take like a hard left. I'm going to teach you some key skills like bad hands to keep, so you can blame it on luck after you lose. How to sell a really convincing, "You're so lucky you went before me. Oh, if only had one more turn." Choosing bad decks to play. And faking good sportsmanship. That was a great game. I had such a good time. I'm Rebel, and this is my masterclass in punting Commander games. Hey fam, it's your biggest of winners, Top 13 Rebel. So today I have something kind of unpleasant to talk about. It's how to deal with lose streaks. So I don't know if you have been following me on the recent streams and videos I've been on, but if you have, you might have noticed I haven't really been winning all too many games. So across like mental misplays twice, CDH Brazil, Team Turn 3, the 99, and also Cockatrice games, I think in the past 12 games or 13 games or so, I've only won once. And it was on Team Turn 3, and I fought really, really hard for that win, and I'm gonna like cherish that win forever. So this isn't the first time it's happened to me, and I'm gonna talk about some things to think about if you are also in a slump or really haven't been winning all too often lately. And this is something I personally deal with a lot, so let's get to it. Start each game fresh. I'm pretty guilty of not following this one myself. I don't know if you've heard before, but usually winning a quarter of your games is considered pretty good, regardless if it's competitive or if it's more casual Commander. Usually whenever you're playing a couple of games in one night and you've lost, let's say, the first 3, I think knowing this kind of knowledge and taking some of your history from previous games before kind of influences your next game. So like, let's say I lost the first 3 games and the 4th game is coming. In my mind, I'm usually thinking like, well, I've lost 3, so statistically, that's a hard word to say. So statistically speaking, I should win the next one, right? And that isn't really true. The way I think about it is it's kind of like rolling for waifus in a gacha game. So like, let's say in a gacha game, if you put $100, you're mathematically speaking, you're supposed to get the waifu, but then you put in the $100 and you don't get her. So you're like, you know what? If I put another $100, I definitely will get her, right? But then you put in the $100 and you don't get her, and you're starting to question like all your decision making. Like, why am I putting $200 here? I should be saving my money and playing something like, I don't know, like Magic the Gathering. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is like, just like in gacha games, your history or your past doesn't really influence your present. Like, it doesn't really have a direct correlation. Like, it feels like because you've sunk your cost in there that your future roles should have a greater chance of getting your waifu or whatever you want, but that's not necessarily true. But that's the same thing in Commander, where just because you've lost 3 games, it doesn't mean that your chances of winning the next one is any better. So, or vice versa, if you've won 1 game, it doesn't mean your next 3 games you're more likely to lose. I find it helpful not to focus on my game history, so regardless if I won a game or I lost a game, I try and start each game fresh. I'm not really trying to think of the game in a way that's like, I'm trying to play this game to break a streak, or I'm trying to play this game to maintain a streak. I think when you just kind of focus on the game on its own, independently from everything else and not really part of like a history or like a statistic, it kind of helps clear your mind where you can just focus on the game itself and trying to win. Focusing on processes instead of outcomes. So this might sound weird because ultimately both things should lead to the same thing, right? Sometimes you might be playing to the best of your ability, but for reasons outside of your control, you just lose the game. I think it's helpful to focus on processes and play patterns that enable your win versus trying to just envision how you're going to win and then figure it out on the fly during a game. Sometimes you'll lose a game, but that game was an excellent test of your skill and you've learned a lot from it and you've grown a lot from it. For example, I might be focusing on the process of my mulligans and what hands to keep. And even if I lost 4 games, if within those 4 games I've shown growth in knowing what hands to keep and keeping better hands, then that means that my future games I should be getting better Focusing on these processes and developing each of these skills as a player, instead of focusing on simply how many games you've won or lost, is going to make you a much better pilot, which in turn will increase your chances of winning in the future. As my buddy David says, it's better to lose and learn something than to win and learn nothing. Digging for positives. I think part of what makes losing streaks feel so bad is because when you focus on the outcome of winning or losing, it feels like a waste of time when you lost a lot of games in a row. But I find it really helpful to try and find some value in each of the games I play, no matter how small it is, and try and take that as the positive, something I learned. For example, in the CDH Brazil game, I learned I should probably be more aggressive with my politicking. I'm generally not really a politics person in these kind of games. I just kind of go with what's the best play, and sometimes I call out things to try and get people to like target it instead of mine. But I don't really like making deals and stuff like that. So I guess that game taught me I should develop those skills a little bit more, so if someone tells me I shouldn't win, I can kind of like give them a better answer on why I should win. Or another game taught me that Marin can play through a null route effect. I forgot Necrotic Ooze gets around Karn, so in the future I'm not going to feel as safe and play Teferi and Karn at the same time. Another example is from my Cockatrice games where I play against Jessica Crom. Jessica can remove enough counters to kill herself, and then Jessica can be recast to deal more damage, so even though Jessica doesn't have enough counters to kill your creature, they can just recast Jessica, which is kind of a weird thing I didn't really think about before. Also, what really helps with finding these little insights for each of your games is really playing less games and taking the time you need to really reflect on this stuff. So usually I go through cycles where I play like a lot of games in 1 week and then just kind of stop playing the next week and really like think about those games I've played. Or I kind of play like 1 game a week each week and then think about it from the rest of the week. I used to have a tracker for Sisay where I can keep track of all the cards that did well and all the cards that didn't do well to help me kind of see all these different insights. So if you don't really remember your games like I do, which is not really that great, I don't really remember anything else. I only remember Magic games, so like a really useless skill. But if you can't keep track of all of it, I think it's helpful sometimes to keep a tracker like that. Identify your best self and stick with it. I know this sounds kind of like live, laugh, love bullshit, but basically every player has like a unique preferred style, right? Some players are more aggressive, some players are more controlling, or they like to play it safer. Whenever you're caught on a losing streak, oftentimes you kind of start doubting your own play style. So if you're too aggressive, you feel like maybe you're not playing enough interaction, or maybe if you're playing too safe of a game, you feel like you're not aggressive enough. I always think it's a great thing to do to challenge yourself and try like a different play style so that you can learn how they play or learn that play style and adapt it to your own. But oftentimes when you're caught in a losing streak, you start adjusting your deck in ways that don't really accommodate your playstyle well. After a losing streak, I think it's good to sit down and think about what strategies and playstyles fit you the best and that you've had most success with so that you can realign your deck to the best version of yourself. So that's all I got for today. I hope this video never ever applies to you, but if you ever get yourself caught in a funk or you're in like double digits losing streaks like me, maybe you can learn from a big loser like me. So bye bye.